Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Tuned In podcast. I have a really special guest with me tonight. It's Rich Darby. Rich is the COO of Sunset Funeral Homes and a whole lot more. Rich, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Rich, I really look forward to you. I have the pleasure of knowing you for a long time now, and our boys played ball against each other, and we get to run into each other out at the national tournament at the junior college. Just one of those guys who've been around a long time, and really, Rich, the focus of this program is to share people that have been a positive influence throughout our community. And you and your family have done that in spades. So I really appreciate you sitting in with me tonight.
Glad to be able to sit down. Glad to just share some of our thoughts and our family values. And honored to be on your show, Eric. Always enjoyed talking with you. And as you said, in fact, we even announced football too.
That's right.
So,
Yep,
yeah,
we sure do.
high school football. So yeah, we have a lot in common.
Yep. Well, Rich, if you just tell a little bit about, kind of share with everybody, like how did the Darby family get into the funeral home business?
Sure. It started out, believe it or not, in the cemetery business. My grandfather used to manage a Lutheran cemetery up in Detroit, Michigan, back in the 1950s. And he was part of the old regime. And the Lutheran Cemetery Board had a kind of a takeover, and a bunch of new people came in and they wanted to mix things up. And so, unfortunately, my grandfather was part of the old. And so he and many others left. And so we found the cemetery in Danville, Sunset Memorial Park, was for sale. And my grandfather thought, well, what a better way than for me to come down and instead of have to worry about a church board or anybody like that, I'm going to buy my own cemetery. So we got into the cemetery business in the Danville area in 1960. And so it started out with my grandfather, and my family started out as literally as grave diggers.
Wow. And then, so when did you get started in the business, Rich?
Believe it or not, when I was 12 years old, I used to cut the grass at the cemetery. And then I got this great big promotion when I was around 18 years old, and I became a grave digger. And so I started working, and in fact, my senior year of high school, I was in what they called the work program, and I went to school from 7 in the morning till 10 in the morning, and then I worked. I dug graves the rest of the day. Yeah.
And I would imagine it being the family business, especially, you had to take on a lot of different roles as from that 12-year-old up through the 18, and even then some. You had to handle a lot of different tasks, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. I've been very blessed, along with working out on our cemetery grounds. So we would pour the concrete roads. We do a lot of construction. And so I've been very blessed with a lot of variety of skills. And then, I was a grave digger for quite some time. And the whole time I was doing that, I just always felt like I could be offering more. And one cold day in the winter, it was like, I think it was 27 below zero wind chill. And we had already built our funeral home in Danville. And one of the directors came up to me and said, "Are you sure you don't want to go to mortuary school?" And I said no in the morning. And by the end of the day, I was on the phone.
Wow. What's all involved in that, Rich? I think people kind of take, loosely speaking, I think people kind of take you and your organization for granted because you're always there, right? And it's been a fixture for so long in town. But mortuary school, I don't know that people really have an appreciation for what all you have to do.
Sure. Mortuary school, when I went back in the 80s, it was just a 2-year program, which was one of the reasons why I did it. I wasn't very studious, I can tell you that. For me, school was the social hour. I wish I would have done school different when I was in high school. But it's a 2-year program, and you basically go in, it's pretty much like pre-med. You basically go in and you learn all about the human body, all the bone structure, the arterial system, the venous system, and then you study mortuary law. Anything that you need to know about actually performing funerals, preparing bodies. That's all taught to you. And then after the end of the 2 years, we actually have to take what they call the National Board Exam. And it's an exam of 500 questions that you have to pass. And so every licensed funeral director in the area has taken that board exam.
Rich, the building in Danville was built in 84. Is that right? 82,
Yes.
84?
1984.
Yep. So, and your business has really grown from there. And talk a little bit about how you had that exponential growth really in a relatively short period of time.
Sure. It's one of those things when, we started out with the funeral home in Danville, and as time went on, we were just kind of doing our thing. We were serving families, and over time, people in the area, other funeral homes in the smaller communities, the owners started getting older, and they would reach out to us and say, "Hey, Rich, I'm getting ready to retire. I've worked hard in my business, and I want somebody to carry on this business like I did." And so we would sit down and we would talk with them, and we'd come together on an agreement, and then we'd move on. And so, in fact, the first funeral home we purchased after Danville was the funeral home in Georgetown from Kent Leisure and Kent and EJ. And that was wonderful. It was good for us. It was good for them. We had just a great relationship. And then from there, people continued to reach out. Sometimes it was funeral homeowners, just like, and now we're out into Champaign, and we're in Mahomet, Illinois. And the reason we're there is because communities started asking us. You hear, "Hey, we'd like to have sunset in the Champaign area." And again, you hear that once, you hear that twice, you kind of think about it. Well, you hear it 50 times, you hear it 75 times, you think, okay, there's something to this. And so we took an existing building and converted it into a funeral home on Neal Street. Once we did that, then we're in Champaign County. Then the Mahomet people started asking us, "Hey, would you guys be interested? We'd love to have you in Mahomet." And again, Eric, 50 times, 75 times, 100 times, and we grow. And we're always looking for opportunities. And it's funny too, because I have a lot of people saying, "Wow, you guys are getting too big, aren't you? Why are you guys growing?" We're a family business, okay? I now have my sons coming into the business, and the pie is only so big. And so we have to keep making the pie bigger. And one thing I will promise, as we grow, we will never lose that drive to serve, the passion to serve. That's who we are. That's what makes us different.
I think that's really a key to the growth, Rich, because you talk about the small towns. It was an individual owned, or if I believe right here in Westville, went back to Urba's funeral home, and
Yes.
it was a brother that was the doctor, was the town doctor, and then the other brother. I know it was a joke between them that Doc would bury, or Cy would bury Doc's mistakes, right? That was the running joke here in town. But
Yes.
But for those people that were in this business for years and years and years to come to you, that speaks volumes about you and your organization and your family, because they wouldn't come to you if you hadn't built that rapport in the community.
Exactly. I think the hard work that we have put in, I think the fact that, we put service above all. I think these people that spent their, blood, sweat, and tears their entire life want to make sure somebody carries on their legacy.
Yeah,
and that's what we do.
You really do, Rich, and obviously nobody looks forward to dealing with you. It's an unpleasant situation. Somebody suffered a loss, and having gone through that recently, it's not just something this isn't lip service coming from the head guy. Everybody in your organization walks that walk and talks the talk. I mean, they do it, Rich. They're promoting those values, and it is a Class A service you're providing to our community.
Well, thank you. We have been so blessed. Our team, I would put up against anyone. They all have heart. They all care. They all do special little things that I don't even know about sometimes. So I'll be out in the community at the grocery store, and somebody will come up and say, "Hey, do you realize so and so just did this for our family?" No, I had no idea. And so I think that they all have come in and bought in the fact that, we have to serve, that we only get one chance. Eric, when your father passed away, we had one chance to do that right. We couldn't do it 2 or 3 times. We had to do it one time.
Yep. And you did it in spades, man. I'm telling you, Jeremy, Jeremy Hall, you and I have had this conversation several times, and Jeremy Hall was here in Westville, and I know he's handled services in Georgetown that I've been to too, but I mean, just an absolute class act and a great representative of your organization, really.
Oh, absolutely. I've been blessed with a great team, and it's hard. And I will tell you, one of the challenges is that not as many people are going to mortuary school, and there is, nationally becoming a shortage of funeral directors. And I think a lot of it goes back to these funeral directors. We work 7 days a week. We're on call. We work holidays. And not many people are interested in doing that anymore. And so these people that get into the funeral industry are very special people. They do it because they care and they serve. And so and it's getting tougher and tougher, though.
I bet it is. Collectively, just in itself, what are some of the biggest challenges you face in the funeral service, industry? What are some of the big hills you have to deal with?
And right now, it's just getting people to understand that they matter. A life matters. I hear oftentimes somebody say, "Hey, when I die, just throw me over the hill," And that's funny because that's usually Uncle Charlie, right? And Uncle Charlie's also the guy that says, "Hey, don't buy me a Christmas present." Well, come Christmas morning or Christmas Eve, and you all get together. If you buy everybody else Christmas presents and you don't buy Uncle Charlie a Christmas present, he's going to feel left out. And so oftentimes somebody says something, "I don't want to be a bother," no, we need, it's not about, you have passed away, you're gone, you have your family members left behind. That person that passed away, your loved one, walked this earth. And if they walk this earth for 40 years, 60 years, 100 years, we just buried my wife's grandmother, 105 years old. She touched a lot of people. And, we as humans have this innate need when somebody passes away to do something. And for people that just have somebody pass away and do nothing and act like it never happened, it shortcuts everybody. And the family members, the neighbors, the community, they want to come and pay their respects. They want to show support, and it's called grief. And a lot of people think that if we don't do anything and we just kind of sweep it under the rug and we'll act like nothing ever happened, they do for about the first month or two. They don't have the terrible grieving, but it gets them 6 months down the road. And that, and so getting together, gathering, paying your respects, that is a necessity. And and oftentimes I'll talk to people and they say, "Oh, it just makes the funeral home money." Yeah, we're a business, and we're in a business to operate, and we perform, a service in the community, but it's not about always making us money. It's about providing healthy grieving services for families. And I just think that's so important. And if you don't want to have a family, they don't want to have a full service or do something to honor that person.
Yep. And you kind of stole my thunder on the next question, and I really think I know the answer here, but some of the most rewarding things about what you do.
Oh, just the people, the relationships. My wife hates going to the grocery store with me because I'm always four aisles back talking with people and hugging people. Yeah. And it is what it is. I mean, it's Eric, I'm a people person.
Yep.
And the bonds, we come in at a family's worst time. We come in when somebody has passed away and we take over. We do it all. You just experienced it. We do it all.
Yep.
And the relationship, what you now have with Jeremy Hall, that is something that is cemented forever.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's what it is. It's about the relationships, all the new friends. I have people, I'm hugging all the time. I have people bake me cookies and make me blankets and just amazing things. And so, and I think my entire staff, they all comment on that, is the role, that they play at a family's worst time, and the relationships and the bonds that they form.
Yep. So when you bring somebody into the organization, Rich, is it a lengthy process to get somebody oriented to what you do there? Or, how do you get people to buy into what you're doing there at Sunset, that carrying out those values, because I'm telling, whatever you're doing, it works because you see it from front to back, everybody you interact with. So how do you,
It's it's the culture. It's there. Something that we do every morning. We have a meeting and we meet with the staff, and we get it going, and we just get we plan out our day, and we joke and we talk and we have some fun, and we just kind of keep that going. But it's we have put together the program that clicks and that works, and I guess that when we hire the people on, and for a couple of weeks they sit back and kind of watch, and I think that they just, through osmosis, and once they come into it and start to be a part of it, it's there. It's there.
yep,
And another thing too, we survey all of our families as well. And so we get some really great feedback, and we read those surveys out loud in our morning meetings. And I can tell you, Eric, we're not 100% perfect all the time. Somebody will miss something. Somebody will, and we'll have a survey that comes back where somebody has said, hey, this happened, and for somebody to read it out and everybody to hear about it. Then we talk about it. Hey, what could we have done, to not have? So we put in something, a process where that doesn't happen again.
Rich, what, over the 50 plus years your family's been involved in this business here in our community, a lot of changes, and I really think obviously the last year with COVID has been some changes that are hopefully going to go away, but some of the ways the business has changed for the better, and maybe even some that have made it harder.
Yeah, sure. The changes for the better, technology. It is incredible now. We were just talking, in fact, that this morning in our staff meeting. I can remember starting my career when we would have to get an obituary in the newspaper. We would get on the phone, dial up, and talk to the person in the obituary department, and we would read and recite the obituary while they sat on the phone and they typed the obituary. And then they would sit and they would read it back to us. And then after I got done reading the obituary, I would take the obituary photo, and I'd put it in an envelope, and I'd hop in my car and I would drive it down to the newspaper and hand it to the obituary department to put that in. Now that would probably take in my morning an hour and a half of time. And now we get online, type it on, in Microsoft Word, email the obituary photo. So technology has made us much more efficient. It's unbelievable. And you can go on websites now and you can leave, condolence messages. We make videos now. We never used to be able to do that. We have to hire it out. So our videos are all done in-house. We have I don't know if people know this or not, but we have a couple of graphic designers on our team. And so when we go to put together the memorial folders or the videos, they know how to work graphic design software. And so technology has just taken us just to a new level. And I'm excited just to see what technology is going to do in the future as well. And so it's made it so much easier, so much more efficient, and we can do more and be more professional and do it all in-house.
That's awesome. I mean, that's even on a business side of it, it makes it easier for you, but that's even more job creation and things you're able to employ more people in the community and offer more things right here at home.
Absolutely. And that's, and Eric, I guess that's one thing too, that as we have grown, we try to do as much in-house as we can. We try to put it together. And if you do have several locations, it's easier to do that. You can have two people doing things for, 6, 7 different locations, and that works. And so that's been a lot of our success too, is making sure that we have control of it. Because again, we only have one time to do it right.
Right. How about some of the changes for worse, Rich? I know this year with COVID had to have been a bear on what you do there and how you've handled the services and things, but other changes besides COVID that have made it very difficult. Yeah,
COVID was, it's kind of funny. I read an article the other day that somebody said that COVID changed the funeral director's role. And I disagree with that. COVID didn't change our role. We just had to react faster. as funeral directors, we are always changing. We're always working in changing environments. And, if a problem arises, we're fast acting and, we take care of things. So I don't think our role changed. What changed is, our government came in and said, hey, you can only have 10 people at a funeral, and you can only have 50 people at a funeral. And so doing what we do as funeral directors, we adapted. And we sat in and we'd say, okay, you have family members, 10 of you are going to be here from 10 o'clock in the morning to 11, and then we're going to have 10 more from 11 to 12, and those that can't come or make it, then we're going to record the service, and then we're going to provide a link for your family and somebody can watch it. And so everybody will be able to attend, not the same way we normally do, but everybody can attend. And this pandemic, a lot of people have said that just how terrible it is, and it is as far as the deaths and things. But in as funerals go, I think what we have all realized as funeral home owners, as community members, as people who have lost loved ones, how important it is to gather together. Because when we couldn't do it and we were stifled from doing it, people realized that, what, this is important. And so I think maybe it's God giving us a bit of a reset and say, hit the reset button, because lives matter. People need to honor.
That's a really great point. I want to back up a minute ago when you talked about the technology. A really good example of that with Jeremy, when we made my dad's arrangements, it was late in the afternoon. And it was really important to my mom to get that announcement out. She wanted to make sure that was in, and it was like the priority to him. He typed it out on his phone. He was in contact with somebody in the office. And just a matter, he made it look very simple, a few clicks, whatever, and it was in. But in the time you mentioned before, that wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have made it.
No, not at all. And so we're faster. And what's really funny is when I first started my career back in the 80s, people would go to the newspapers for everything. Well, people now are out searching the funeral home websites before they even go to the newspapers anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it's there, and people are, a lot of people subscribe to the funeral homes so obituary notices. And whenever we put on a obituary on our website, as soon as we hit submit, it'll send out a notification to everybody who is subscribed to it. So that's helped too. So again, technology has just been something that it keeps getting better and better. And I just think this is the tip of the iceberg. I really do.
Rich, I want to talk just for a minute about some of the people. And again, I've had a couple close experiences with people here in my hometown, dealing services alone. Jeremy Hall, when talking to him, I know, can you share a little bit about how he decided to get into this? Because this isn't what he's always done.
Yeah, he was he was a hog farmer. And he was a hog farmer up in kind of the northwestern Illinois. Yep. And Jeremy, he had a good friend who was in the funeral industry. And I think Jeremy, again, kind of like I was when I was digging graves, kind of felt like I could always be doing something a little bit more with my talents. And he's a personable person. And so I think at that point, he just, talking to his funeral director buddy, he was intrigued. And I think that he just took a leap of faith. And, he had a loving and supporting wife that, okay, as you're going to school, we're going to support you. And he went to school, and we were very lucky to have him come interview with us. And and really strange is most of our staff, nobody in their family was in the funeral business. Most of them just, for some odd reason, they'd either gone to a funeral. Drew Edwards, our general manager, took a test, I think, in high school, and said that funeral service, he'd be well suited for funeral service. And next thing he knew, he was enrolled in mortuary science school in Southern Illinois University, and he's been with me now for almost 30 years. And so it's just it's strange how people get into it. And most of the time, if somebody goes to mortuary school and they become a funeral director and they get involved into a funeral home operation where they become, a long-standing, more than 5-year funeral director, they're usually a lifer. Because this takes you and it sucks you in, and because of all the variety, and it is the greatest occupation. It really is. And people probably think, boy, you're crazy for saying that. You're a funeral director. I love it. I love being a funeral director. I love dealing with families. I love dealing with the Jordans. I love dealing with the Smiths, the Joneses. You come in and you make a difference.
And that's really what service is all about, right, Rich? Is putting others first.
Yes.
And you guys, you're a great example of that. But in whatever business it is, and not even in the business world, that's what we all need to do, is really put people first. And if we put others first, Zig Ziglar said, you can have anything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want.
Exactly.
Right? And it's a great quote. That's my favorite quote of his, but I just think that sums servant leadership up in a great way.
It's really strange. I had, we were, with the Sunset Funerals, we also have what they call Sunset Cherished Companions, which is our pet service for people, lose a pet. And before we got into this, pet services and pet cremations, through LinkedIn, I happened to send Jim Doherty, the founder of PetSmart, a message just on a whim. Just I sent it to him. Just said, hey, I'm looking to start a pet cremation business. Just you of course you are the all of alls when it comes to pets. I just like to pick your brain and get some thoughts. And I sent it, the message. Didn't hear back. Months went by, and I was walking across our cemetery one day. In the message, I gave my cell phone number. I'm walking across the cemetery one day, and I get this call, and I pick it up, and lo and behold, it's Jim Doherty. And I was busy. I was doing some other task, and he said, "This is Jim Doherty." Well, it didn't click to me at the time who Jim Doherty was. And okay. And he said, "Rich, you sent me a message about getting into the pet funerals and pet cremations. I'm sorry it took so long to get back to you. I'm very busy, but I did want to reach out to you." And he and I had this hour talk. And this is the founder of PetSmart. This is a guy that, unbelievable. And I asked him, I said, "Jim, why did you take the time to call me?" And he said, "Rich, real simple. I've gotten to a point in my career where I have achieved success. And now I'm at a point where I want others to achieve success." And I thought to myself, man, that's it. That is it. And he will. Now, it wasn't but maybe 6 months later, this man sold his business for $2 billion. Okay. So he sold for $2 billion. And right after he sold his business, I think it was in October or something like that, Christmas Eve, I get an email from Jim Doherty wishing my family a Merry Christmas.
Wow. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's what successful people do. Yep. A lot of people think everybody's money hungry. No, you serve, you treat others well, and the money comes. We're not worried about the money. It's not about the money. We all, anybody that is in business and care. Simon Sinek is somebody I follow, an influencer of mine. Yep. He has a quote: working hard for something you don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something that you love is passion.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's
great.
What it is.
Yep.
That's what it is.
That's a great quote, Rich. And the passion's obvious in what you guys do. And not just you. Like I said, I've known you for years, but it shows throughout the organization. And you kind of touched on the next topic, influencers for you. Obviously, Simon Sinek, the family was an influence, right, as you got started. Yes. Some of the influences on you, and then how you've shared that with guys like Jeremy or the younger guys that are coming into the business now.
We just a lot of times we have good talks, good discussions. I oftentimes will be working a funeral in Georgetown. I'll go and work a funeral in Champaign, and as we're working together, that's where we talk. That's where we share back and forth. Those are the best times. I can tell you, I remember back in the 90s, a lot of what we would do in the mornings. We weren't as busy as we were now, and we would all wash cars together. Myself and the directors, and the first half hour of the day was spent washing cars, talking about old times, and so I think the best way that you can influence people, conversation. A lot of people set up these training sessions, and yeah, that's okay, but just to have conversations and one-on-ones, and after our morning meetings, I may spend an extra 5 minutes talking to somebody afterwards, just, hey, did you realize this, or hey, did you realize that? And just being involved, is what you have to do. And now that we have several locations, a lot of times I'll have somebody say, hey, Rich, I haven't seen you at the funeral home lately. No, you haven't seen me at that funeral home, but I've been over here. It just depends. And also too, I'm a firm believer in, I don't micromanage. I'm not going to be at every service micromanaging that person, because it makes people nervous when the owners are there. I bless them. I know that they can do it, and they thrive. And so, working hand in hand with them, but not cracking the whip all the time. I've had so many people come to our organization that worked at other funeral homes and said, I had to get out of there. My boss was toxic, wouldn't let me do anything, was always riding me. This was wrong. We don't operate that way. All of our staff, they're well trained. They're human beings. They can do it. They can serve. If you call Sunset Funeral Home, and any one of our directors that sits down, at the arrangements table with you to arrange the funeral, they are good quality people that have heart, that care, that have the passion to serve, and they will all take good care of you.
Yep. And that's how you teach confidence, right, Rich? You put people in a situation where they can fail, and if they do, you pick them up and you dust them off and you let them do it again. And you may even have to do that another time, but after the second or third time, whatever it takes, they know what a big deal it is, that they know that you have they have confidence in you, that you're standing behind them, and you're going to back them up and take care of them. And that goes a long, long way for those relationships.
Oh yeah, and we have to support our staff. I think the day of cracking the whip and holding everybody, and of course there's accountability. There has to be
Sure.
accountability in an organization, but
Sure.
not to the point where everybody feels so stinking uncomfortable. We don't want that, and I'll share with my staff a lot of times. My mistakes, my failures. I can tell you, I buried a wedding ring one time, and we had to go dig it back up. And as we're talking about, making funeral arrangements, and, why do we document this? And, I said, because I'm the guy that buried the wedding ring, and I don't want that to happen to you.
Right. Rich, I want to move on just a little bit and talk about some of the other business entities that you guys operate. And if you could share a little bit about that.
Sure. We started out with the cemetery, Sunset Memorial Park. Back in 1960. Then, of course, we opened up Sunset Funeral Home in 1984 in Danville. But between the 1960 and 1984, my father and my uncle, so my grandfather came down and bought the cemetery. My father and uncle came down too. And what my father and uncle soon realized, that the amount of business that cemetery was doing at that time, it wasn't enough for 3 families to eat off of. And so my dad and my uncle kind of put their heads together, and my dad came up with the idea that a casket goes in a concrete container called a burial vault. And so the burial vault it goes down inside the grave, the casket's lowered into it, and then the cover is placed on the top of the burial vault. And that protects the casket from all the earth load. And when things are going across the cemetery, when they're mowing grass or they're going to dig other graves, it's a strong structure. And so those burial vaults also have at the time was a fiberglass lining to help to keep the gravesite entrances from getting in, and also any fluids inside getting out into the dirt and the earth. And so my dad started just making these fiberglass linings for burial vaults, and he just kind of did it locally for our own cemetery, and started providing burial vaults for funeral homes around our area. And then the word kind of got out that, hey, Jim Darby's got something kind of special here. And then he would get calls from further out in Illinois, then into Indiana, and then Michigan. And before we knew it, this little operation, which was growing faster, and I can remember at one time, he had to take his phone off the hook for
Oh, wow.
a period of time. He couldn't grow anymore. And so, but it has now grown to a national company. It's called TriGuard. So we manufacture plastic burial vault liners right in Danville, and then we ship them out nationwide. In fact, we ship them into Canada. We've shipped some to South Africa, and so we serve and we supply products for the funeral industry. And then anytime somebody calls Sunset Funeral Homes, any product that is used, you also help employ a person locally. And I don't think a lot of people know that. And so we are a brand, we're a national brand. Our family is well known nationally in the funeral industry. We also, so again, we're entrepreneurs. We're always, searching. Remember I told you we keep everything in house. My dad was a big believer in the grave markers, the headstones. In our cemetery in Danville, they're all bronze. And it always bothered him that there was just names and dates and a dash. And so he came up and developed a way to we can take a person's image and we could digitize it, and then we could machine it onto bronze. And so we got into manufacturing grave headstones. It's called TriGuard Memorials. And again, serving our own cemetery starting out, and now we ship nationally. We ship all over the world. What's nice with our bronze memorials, you can UPS them all over. When we were doing the bronze memorials, we didn't think about this, but we started getting phone calls. And people would say, well, hey, since you make grave memorials out of bronze, can you make us a plaque? Well, sure, we can make you a plaque, no problem. And from the TriGuard Memorials, the headstone division has now come what we call Hall of Fame plaques and signs. We do business. We do our biggest claim to fame is we came in and the NASCAR Hall of Fame. They have 5 inductees that they induct every year, and they weren't very happy with their current supplier. And I got a phone call from a guy, and he said I had met him at a convention. His name's Murray, and he said, "Hey, I'm in a bit of a pickle." He said, "I got a job for you. I think you can do. When can you get to Charlotte, North Carolina?" And I said, "Oh, Murray, okay, let me look at my schedule." And I kind of looked at things, and I said, I 3 weeks from now, how about this date? He said, "No, I need you tomorrow." And I said, "Oh, tomorrow?" And he said, "Yeah, I need you in Charlotte, North Carolina tomorrow. We're in a jam. I need you." So myself and one of our head engineers, we got on a plane and we went down there. And before I flew, I said, Murray, can you at least tell me where I'm going? Who is this? What are we doing? He said, NASCAR Hall of Fame. Well, I'm like, oh, yes, I'm going to be there tomorrow. And so we went there and we redesigned and produced all of their pieces, all of their plaques. And we did what normally took their vendor a couple months to do, we did it in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so we do stuff for NASCAR. We do, racing is big for us. I'm a racing fanatic. So we've done stuff for Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We do all the winners plaques for the Chicagoland Speedway. We've done things for Major League Baseball. We've made plaques for Arnold Palmer. Trying to think what else we have done. Gee whiz, trying to think what. Oh, we did yard markers for one of the U.S. Opens, and then we just send plaques all over, recognition awards, donor walls. So that's been something that just came out of headstones. We see an opportunity, and I think that's one thing too. Oftentimes people just get tunnel vision and they just kind of focus in on the one thing that they're doing. And there's opportunities out there. They're just all over the place. But you got to be listening, and you got to be looking, and you have to be willing to have the passion to put it all together. Because when you change and you pivot, there's work that comes with it. And I think that's one thing that my family is not afraid of. And hopefully, if you talk to anyone that any employee in our organization, I think they will tell you the Darby family works We're not lazy. I'm not. You may see me in a suit a lot, but you miss the days that I'm in my blue jeans. I'm in the plants doing this, and so, and I can tell you too, Erica, in my family of businesses, I probably have the best job because I'm in head of all the operations. Um, I have variety. I'm out on the cemetery, in my blue jeans one day. I'm working a funeral the next day. The next thing you know, I'm meeting with the head of the NASCAR Hall of Fame down in Charlotte. And so I have had one heck of a career. I really have. I've been so blessed and so honored. Um, I I have done it all. I really have, and it's exciting. It really is. And I'm only 56 years old. I got some more to do.
Yes, sir, you do. And talking about that passion, and really the underlying thing to me, you have a passion to serve others. And one really way that I see an example of that is Operation Honor Guard. And I know that's a really important thing to you. And I'd like for you to just share what is Operation Honor Guard.
Sure. Operation Honor Guard is a nonprofit organization that I didn't start it out as I started it out as a fundraiser. And Eric, we talk about influencers, and I forget who it was that I saw. I think it might have been Bill Gates. Somebody years and years ago, and I wasn't even thinking about this. I saw that said most people that are driven will end up being somehow associated with a nonprofit organization. I read that and didn't even think about it. So, and just kind of went on my own way. And so Operation Honor Guard is a nonprofit organization that I started out as a fundraiser. And I'll back up a little bit. I was working a graveside service in August of 2013. And I was at our cemetery in Danville, and Eric, it was hot. It was, I think it was like 98 degrees and 98% humidity. And I'm in my suit and I'm there soaking wet, and I could feel the sweat dripping down my back, and I'm feeling sorry for myself. And then I turn and I look to my left, and there stood our local honor guard. And I'm talking men and a lady. We have a lady member of our honor guard in Danville, and they were standing at attention. And they had been there longer than I had. They were waiting for us to arrive at the cemetery, and they were soaking wet. Sweat was dripping down their brows, but they weren't feeling sorry for themselves. And I looked at their uniforms, and they were kind of tattered and kind of ragged. And I just had this aha moment. And I thought to myself, you know what? We need to help these people. I mean, they're sitting there, and their commitment, their passion to serve. You think I have a passion to serve? Uh-uh. These men and women of this honor guard, they have the passion to serve. And so I met with the local honor guard, and we got together, and I said, hey, I want to hold a fundraiser for you. And so we locally stood outside of Walmart and stood on some street corners in towns. And the very first year, we raised $5,000 that we were allowed to give to the honor guards in our area to help buy their uniforms. And after I had that first fundraiser, I got a phone call from a gentleman by the name of Kobe Cooper, who was the station manager at WCIA. And he said, Rich, my dad died when I was young. And he was a veteran, and at his funeral, they had the honor guard. And I will never forget that. And I heard what you're doing, and I want to be part of it. How can I be part of this? And so we talked, and he said, I have an idea. He says, each year we pick a nonprofit organization, and we hold a telethon and a fundraiser, and we have a day of giving. And he says, I want Operation Honor Guard to be that nonprofit. And I said, well, Kobe, I'm not a nonprofit. And he said, don't worry about it. We'll just have a fundraiser. And so we had the fundraiser, and we raised, I think our first year, what did we raise? Like $30,000, I think it was. It was incredible. It was the most money that they had ever raised at WCIA at one of their fundraisers. And that was 2015, I believe. They raised $30,000. Not last year, this is COVID. We couldn't have it last year. 2019, we raised $170,000. Same
That's
area.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what Operation Honor Guard does, we have our mission is 4 prongs. Number one, it's to help provide finances and help fund these honor guard members. Number 2, it's to heighten public awareness. It's to go out and tell the story of what the honor guard members do. And we do that often. I get invited to speak all the time and go talk to people and explain about the commitment that these honor guard members, they're basically on call 7 days a week, waiting for someone. Hey, you got to be at the cemetery at this time. The other thing, the third part of this is honor guard members are aging. They're age 75, 80, 85, and they're becoming ill. They're dying off. And so another thing that we do is we help recruit younger honor guard members. We need younger veterans to step up to the plate and to help. And then the final thing that we do is we want to educate. So I go talk to the schools. I get invited to go to Veterans Day programs at the schools and talk about the honor guards and what they do. And so, and the fifth little thing that's starting to happen, Eric, that I didn't even realize as well, is that we are now becoming a national resource for people who have lost a loved one. And I answer emails 7 days a week from people saying, hey, my husband just died. He was a veteran. How do I get the honor guard involved? And so I'm on the phone, I'm answering emails, and we become a source. And I've hooked more people up with, honor guards in certain areas. And it's something that it just continues to grow.
I think it's really cool, Rich. I mean, my dad was in the military. My father-in-law was in the military. I mean, you can't say enough, and we owe all of our veterans a debt of gratitude that we could never repay for what they've done. But you're going a long way to recognize these folks when they do pass away, and give them the honor and the respect and really a treasured ceremony that they can, that to honor their service to our country.
Absolutely. And well, a lot of people don't realize the honor guards, they're not funded by the government. And so a lot of these VFW posts, American Legion posts, Marine Corps Leagues, a lot of the posts themselves try to fund them. A lot of them are struggling financially because they're not having new members join on. And so a lot of these honor guard members use their own personal money to buy their uniforms. Now, these are veterans that served our nation, correct? And they went abroad and they served. And they came back and they're still serving today. And why can't we, as our nation, donate each year to help these individuals? And that's my cause. I want to get together. I don't think these people need to pay for their uniforms. I want to, one of my missions is I would love to not have to have yearly fundraisers. I want to go to Washington, D.C. and we need to fund. We need somebody to put together a fund, and we need to fund these honor guards. And there's got to be somebody there to help do that. Let's use our tax dollars in the right places. Absolutely. And these veterans, they don't need, and taxpayers, they're donating, and I love it. But also too, come on nation, come on government, let's stand up. Let's help these people. Let's get a big fund. I did the math. There are over 10,000 volunteer honor guards in the United States. And for us to buy a brand new uniform for each honor guard member in the United States cost $96 million. That seems like a lot, but we see these numbers that our government throws out there. And I think we can afford $96 million a year and have a fund somewhere that there's going to be stipulations and somebody has to watch it. But why not help these honor guards?
Rich, why does it mean so much to you to want to serve in all of these entities? Why is it so important to you to serve others?
It's, I guess, something that my family, my grandfather, my father, number one, it's following in the Darby legacy and their footsteps, and what they did and how they did. But once you start and you give back, that's a feeling. It is absolutely priceless. You can't put a price on it. I can tell you, when we have our big fundraiser for Operation Honor Guard, the night before I can hardly sleep because I'm so excited, and the night after I can hardly sleep because I'm so fired up about how much money we raised. And for somebody that has never volunteered, never gotten involved in any type of an organization, until you give of yourself, you just don't know what complete fulfillment is. And that's what it is for me. It's just it's a natural high. And Eric, you've done it. I know you've done it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep. Yeah, and Simon Sinek, you mentioned him earlier, but he says that about fulfillment. is doing something nice for somebody else and expecting nothing in return.
Absolutely. And we shouldn't. I mean, you just don't, if whatever you do, you have an ulterior motive behind it, you're not doing it the right way then. That's not what this is about. It really isn't. And it's kind of funny when I started Operation Honor Guard and it started getting some big momentum. And I started getting some press on TV, and you know we raised money in Colorado, Tennessee, Michigan, Ohio. I got a call one day from a very high up military person from Washington D.C. and he was grilling me. He was not happy with me.
Really?
And what are you doing? And why are you doing this? And what are you doing with this money? And he was just giving me a real hard time. And I just said, sir, I said, if you think that I'm stealing any monies, you can come and audit my books. I don't have any problem with that. And I want you to know that if you know, I put in thousands of hours of work on this in a year. If I was looking to make money or steal money, I'd sure pick something different than this, you know. And it's not about them. It's just the passion. It's about once you get involved in it. And man, Eric, these Honor Guard members, I got some great buddies, and the stories they tell, and oh my gosh, and the excitement that we have, they are just great human beings.
Yep.
They really are.
Rich, what would you say to people like that you said before, you know, you'd never been involved in something like that? What would you say to somebody to encourage them to get involved in whatever organization it is?
Oh, I would say make the call, make the email. If you're sitting there and you're thinking about it and you're kind of hesitant because number one, it might take up too much of my time. First of all, my question is, what else are you going to do with your time? So pick up the phone, open up that computer, send that email out. My challenge is take that first step. That's all it takes.
Yep. And then you're hooked.
You're hooked. You've been there, Eric. You've helped on several things, and you know, throughout time has gone, and I've been active. You know, I coach with my kids. I you know, announce football, basketball. I'm president of the baseball leagues and all that, and also too, you form new relationships, new friendships, and each time you do it. And so you just expand yourself when you do it. Yeah, it's some sweat equity. It's some sweat equity. But if you're thinking about it, there must be a reason you're thinking about it.
Well, Rich, we're getting close to the end here. I just want to take a minute and can you just give everybody where to go to if they want to learn more about Operation Honor Guard?
Absolutely. In fact, this is great timing, Eric. We just redesigned our website. So if they go to operationhonorguard.us and they go there and they can learn all about it. Our day of giving this year, we're actually going back to a telethon this year, is going to be on May 13th. And so I'm going to be reaching out. You're going to see me on TV. I'm going to be asking for money again. We've sat out for a year and a half. And we got to get going again, people. We got to help these Honor Guard members, and just excited to get back out and just do what we do best, and that's we as our communities in Champaign and Vermilion counties. I am amazed at how they turn out for our veterans. So thank you all, and Eric, thanks for having me on tonight. I'm honored to do this.
Rich, I really appreciate it, and on behalf of everybody in this community, and thank you for what you and your family have done through Sunset and the way you work through that and impact so many lives, Rich. And that's really what it's about. Like you said, you know, yeah, you're a businessman, you're in it to make money, but you take care of people first and the rest of it will work itself out pretty well.
Amen.
So thank you for what you do for our community. Thank you for Operation Honor Guard. We'll try to tag the link along to this video when it goes up so people can go there and donate. And we'll see you real soon, Rich. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Eric. Have a good evening.
You too.